You'll notice that most of the reporters are based in Washington, D.C. or New York, and more, really, in Washington, D.C. than New York. New York is the financial capital of the United States. How much actual financial reporting goes on from the national news? There are some business channels, but I mean on the broader channels, very little. Very little. And how much reporting is there about Washington and events going on in Washington? It's nonstop. It's endless. And there's two reasons for it. First is, Washington now is so ubiquitous, so controlling of our everyday lives, no matter who you are, where you are, or what you do, that it's central. And secondly, these reporters wouldn't know how to report stories other than about Washington, because that's where their sources are. That's where they're physically located. And everybody out there in the hitherlands, they want to wind up with a network, cable, network, satellite, whatever it is, based in Washington, D.C., where the money is, where the attention is, where the fame is. Does that sound like a real free press to you, geographically, ideologically? Does that sound like a real free press to you? Doesn't to me. All right, we'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, everybody. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. How many people were murdered today? Do you know? How many men and women do we have serving today in combat zones all over the world? Do you know? What is the actual debt in this country, and how does it threaten our society, and what can be done about it? Can our armed forces win a war against China, which is massively muscling up its military and cyberspace warfare capabilities? None of this was news today. None of it. None of it. Give an example of the problem here. Michael Eric Dyson is a professor at one of the universities in Washington. Every time I've seen him, now I shut it off. Every time I've seen him on TV, CNN or MSNBC, he's hustling the race issue. He sees racism everywhere, and that's why they bring him on TV. He contributes nothing. He contributes nothing. Zero to any news. He's a provocateur. He appeals to the Democrat Party base. And so MSNBC and CNN bring him on to be a provocateur. You're not going to learn anything from Michael Eric Dyson. Nothing. Zero. So the president calls Omarosa a dog, among other things. Of course, she said a number of horrible things about him. Now, you see, the president isn't supposed to speak that way. He can speak that way when the door's closed. He can speak that way in describing her to friends and family, but not to the public, you see. He's supposed to just take it. Now, why is that? It's not presidential. Not presidential? He's defending his own integrity and character. He's defending his family. Not presidential? Do people know the history of this country and what presidents have said in the past? Do they have any idea? Apparently not. But you may not like what he said. That's fine. And the reason, in many respects, people may not like what he said is not so much because it's not presidential, because they know he will be attacked. Right, Mr. Producer? They know he will be attacked by whom? By the media. The media that has already created this pseudo-event with Omarosa and her book. That's why they advise him, don't do that. It's not presidential. But what we really mean is, now it's gonna go on for another day or 2 or 3 or 4. Why? Why? Because of the media. Well, why? Because the media have created a pseudo-event that inspires more pseudo-events. And so who better to play along than Michael Eric Dyson and a whole gaggle of guests like him? Now, here's what he said on CNN today. Totally predictable, which is exactly why CNN brought him on. Cut 4, go.
The problem is, of course, is that she's giving him a taste of his own medicine, a dose of what he's done. But beyond that, it still doesn't legitimate or justify the kind of vicious animus he's expressed toward people of color, and in particular, dog, mongrel. Look at all the KKK language that was used. He's evoking an entire history of assault against black people with dehumanizing languages. So he might say that about other people as well. But when he applies it to Omarosa, and then he applies it to LeBron James, and he applies it to Don Lemon, he's doing something very specific. And we need white brothers and sisters and non-black people who are allies to call him on this. Don't just have the complicity of silence or, oh my God, and wring our hands. This is an assault, the likes of which we haven't seen from the presidency in so many decades.
No, BS. You're so full of crap. You know, it'd be one thing if the president said this out of the blue, out of left field, but he's directing it at her. Not because she's black, but because of what she's done. And this is part of the problem. To bring a guy like this on TV who spews this. He's a walking pseudo-event. He is a walking pseudo-event. When's the last time CNN brought Shelby Steele on the program? I don't mean to have 20 people yell at him and drown out what he's trying to say. They have no interest in talking to that man. When's the last time they brought Tom Sowell on? They have no interest in talking to that man. 2 black men. Or MSNBC, they have no interest in talking to them unless they can use them as foils to viciously assault verbally on their programs to get their base all jacked up. Their base being the progressive Democrat base. Is this a free press in action? Well, they're using the First Amendment and the freedom of the press. But this isn't news. This isn't news. Do you hear this guy? And others? It's not news.